Yo, what's going on everybody? Hope everybody is doing well. Finally got around to making a proper Xaku Prime Steel Path build, and while this build is definitely not the best in the game, bringing this build through the Steel Path has made me realize just how much of an amazing Warframe Xaku is. With Xaku's passive, you get 25% damage reduction on AoE attacks, and you have a 25% chance to avoid incoming weapon damage. 25% is definitely not the most at the end of the day, but whenever you actually activate the fourth ability, the Vast Untime, you can increase that 25% all the way up to 75%, which is pretty crazy. All you need to do to get that 50% boost is simply have the fourth ability active. A really good trade-off that makes his passive actually pretty damn good. His first ability, Zada's Whisper, allows you to put void damage on your weapons. Void damage is amazing for multiple reasons, not only because it does increase damage to Overguard and Zeraman Void manifestations, but what really makes this ability good on top of that is the fact that void damage can double dip to faction damage and body part weaknesses. And pairing that with a status weapon is gonna allow you to cook pretty easily. Xaku's second ability, Grasp of Loke, allows you to steal enemies' weapons and make a specter form of those weapons. The weapons will float next to Xaku and they will auto-target enemies. The damage the weapons do is increased based on the enemy's level, and these weapons actually shoot out a void beam, and each void beam can do void damage and they have a chance to stagger. And something that's really cool about this ability is the fact that you can actually recreate Xaku's primary weapon as one of these spectral weapons. You have to specifically target an enemy that's already disarmed, and then you can recreate your primary weapon. And this does also work with the Incarnon form of weapons. For my build, I do have the Fenmore Incarnon, and being able to just recreate that weapon as a void version of it that automatically shoots a beam out every second is pretty cool, and it definitely makes this ability worth using in my opinion. That extra little bit of damage can go a long way. With his third ability, you got 3 different options you can choose from, basically 3 abilities in one. The first option is called Accuse. You use Accuse by looking at the ground, because with this ability you manifest a Void Fissure, and the Void Fissure has a certain radius. Enemies that walk within the radius of this attack will immediately become corrupted by void energy, and they'll actually become your allies. All they literally have to do is walk within the radius of the attack, and as you can see after my mod setup, I can literally just steal 16 targets from the enemy team and put them on my team at any time. It's pretty cool. The second option with this ability is called Gaze. Once you hit an enemy with this ability, they'll be wrapped up in some void vines, and while they're wrapped up in the vines, they're invulnerable to damage. Even though the gazed enemy is invulnerable, you still can apply damage to it, and once the timer of gaze goes away, all the damage you applied while that target was invulnerable will then be applied the moment the invulnerability runs out. Gaze is actually really good because these enemies that are trapped by the void vines emit a certain aura, and other enemies that walk within that aura can have their shields and armor removed. And once you have 200% ability strength on your Xaku, you can fully armor strip and fully remove shields on enemies that walk within the range of the gaze target. Third option with the lost ability is called Deny. With this ability, you quite literally release a Dragon Ball Z void energy beam from your hand. And another cool thing about Deny is if you hit an enemy with this ability and they survive, that enemy will then proceed to float in the air, and they stay in the air until the ability timer runs out. And on top of that, if you hit Sentience with Deny, any damage type resistance buildup they have will immediately be reset. So overall, the Lost is a pretty amazing ability that has 3 options that are all pretty amazing. But just like with the passive ability, you can also make the first 3 abilities we just talked about even better thanks to the fourth ability, the Vast Untime. Like I mentioned earlier, this ability does buff his passive percentage to 75%, but on top of that, it also does a lot more. Whenever you activate this ability, you literally shed the outer pieces of Xaku, and the enemies you hit with Xaku's parts can also be more vulnerable to void damage, and they will receive a percentage of slow. But on top of all that, there is one last thing this ability does that makes it even better. While this ability is active, the ability timers for Xaku's other abilities will be paused until the Vast Untime runs out. So you literally activate your first 3 abilities, and then you can pop the Vast Untime, or you could just pop it immediately and then go use your abilities as you please, and the ability duration timer won't even count down until the Vast Untime's ability timer counts fully down. And by that time, you could just use the ability again and instantly reactivate it, so you can keep that 75% passive buff, and so you can keep the other ability timers frozen. Like I said, Xaku's kit is absolutely amazing, and if you have not tried it out for yourself, I highly recommend putting in the work to get Xaku or Xaku Prime, because it is definitely worth it. My build with Xaku is definitely not that fancy. I only got 3 Archon shards on him, 2 yellow ones that give me extra effectiveness on energy orbs, and then a red one that gives me extra extra ability strength. I only formatted him once, and as far as the mod setup goes, this is what I'm rocking with. I haven't even begun to look at augment mods for Xaku, so I'm sure there could be some pretty crazy builds out there. Again, this is just what I'm rocking with for right now. Prime redirection for that extra shield. Since I'm already giving my shields a buff, I might as well pair Vigilante Vigor and Fast Deflection with prime redirection. The bonus of shield recharge and the decrease to shield recharge delay can help you shield gate really easily, and after these mods are applied, you can see this is what my shields are looking like. Whenever my shields break, I'll be invulnerable for 2.1 seconds, but during that time I'll also be recharging shields because it only takes 0.2 seconds to start recharging my shields at a rate of 139 shields per second. And to make getting shields back even easier and more efficient, I have the Brief Respite Aura mod. Next, an ability, get shields back. Pretty simple and pretty amazing, especially on a Warframe like Xaku. I feel like Rolling Guard is really good on Xaku as well, because just being able to roll and get rid of any status effect that's applied to you is nice. Prime Flow for extra energy is always good, and Prime Continuity for extra ability duration is always good. I feel like the more ability duration on Xaku, the better. Equilibrium is definitely an optional mod. I just threw it on there because I find myself picking up a lot of energy orbs, and the health I get back is sometimes clutch. And vice versa, whenever I need energy, picking up some health orbs can sometimes help me, so I think it's pretty good. And then of course, Blind Rage for the extra ability strength. And as far as my arcanes go, I got Molt Augmented for that extra ability strength, and Arcane Energized for that chance to get a bunch of energy on one energy orb. I feel like bringing a status primer like the Kuva Nukor is really good with Xaku, and with a build like this where I got 191% status chance and secondary encumber, I can cook pretty easily. But this is just my status weapon. Any status weapon will do, I feel like. Whatever primary weapon you want Xaku to make a copy of, you should go for, which is exactly why I went with the Fenmore Incarnon, because once you actually get the Incarnon form active and you get that Devouring Attrition perk going, you can do some pretty good damage, and having a Void version of that only shoots a Void beam a second may not be the most efficient in comparison to the original Incarnon, but it's pretty cool to have a shadow clone of your primary weapon as well. That's pretty much gonna be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think of Xaku down in the comments, and if you got a Xaku build that you personally really enjoy, feel free to let me know what that build is as well. That's gonna be it for me. Keep your head up and stay positive. With all that being said, thanks for watching.